3. You ready, Daniel? All right. I'll call Woodland Hills Metropolitan District Board of Directors regular board meeting for Thursday, February 22nd to order at 5:40. Running a little bit late. And roll call.
John Mark present.
Stacy Popovich present.
And Troy Stinson present. So we do have a quorum. Do we know where the other two? I haven't had any contact with the other two.
Kelsey's on a plane to Texas, and Sherry is driving back from California. She's in Beaver Creek, Utah right now.
Okay. All right.
For work or?
They didn't say if they're working, it's for work or for personal. They just told me they weren't gonna be here.
Okay, then we'll leave it as is. They're just absent. If it comes up that it was for work, we'll do the motion at the next meeting. Just remind me.
Okay.
I will not be at the next meeting. It will be an unexcused absence. Just putting it out there.
All right.
You're welcome for taking a vacation.
Thank you very much.
Item 3, director disclosures.
No conflicts.
Item 4, approval or disapproval of the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
What's the amendment?
Number 9 is
Number
being
9.
scratched.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, motion by Stacy and second by John. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. None opposed. Because nobody else is here. Motion carries. All right, item 5, President's welcome and remarks. Rules of conduct. I don't think anybody get out of hand in here, except for Carter. He gets a little touchy. We started talking about color prints and stuff. But welcome for those of you that haven't been to our meetings, and for those that haven't been here in a while. I haven't seen you guys in quite a while. But we appreciate you all coming in. Look forward to hearing our status from our engineers and everything else, the fun stuff going on in the district. You guys have definitely been busy looking at the emails and everything else going on out here. So it's always good to hear what's going on in this format. With that being said, would someone like to lead us in the pledge of allegiance?
I knew you were gonna do that. I pledge allegiance
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You're welcome.
All right. Item 6 is public comment regarding current board business not on the agenda. You guys are on the agenda
Correct.
for
They're in 7.
7, okay. And so nobody else? You guys are on the agenda.
Nobody's here.
Where's the other guy? Where's Wally?
Wally? Remember, he's fishing. He's in Florida right now. I can call him if you want.
I should.
Troy wants to talk to you.
I should.
You should.
All right, then, with no other public comment, then I will motion we enter executive session for matters that may be subject to negotiations pursuant to CRS 24640224E. And that's namely a memorandum of understanding with the Falcon Area Water and Wastewater Authority, or FAWA.
Can we move that number 7 down so we can get these guys out of here
That's why they're here.
for the executive session?
John and Ryan, too?
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
fair enough. All right, motion's on the table. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Second from Stacy, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, now in the executive session. Aye. All right. that's a whole nother resolution. We're not doing 9. Meeting minutes, we're not ready for that.
Just replace 9 with this.
Okay, let's replace 9 with, direction. We don't need to vote on direction, we just need to.
I'll probably do a motion to amend the agenda. I'm just gonna add it.
Alright. A motion to amend the agenda and add the follow.
I'll make a
I
motion.
mean, what are we calling it? Direction?
Direction to staff on the MOU.
Alright. Alright, John made a motion, I'll second the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so item 9 will be direction to staff. To continue. And what do we need to, what do you need to say to continue? Just to continue working on it?
You already gave us that, right? So I think at this point, we have a deal in principle. Now we're moving to the next phase, which would be the formation of an IGA, right? Is that,
Yeah, I think
we still have some negotiating points to work out, specifically this total number of acre feet of water, but I think that is,
if you think that's what we're down to, if you think we're down to some of that, then I'm very comfortable with just saying, without necessarily having a complete motion and saying, direction to staff is to continue to work with Class 16 to try and get this to the finish line.
First and foremost, okay, so there's a motion on the table to give further direction to staff on continuing to work on the IGA between Fawa and Woodman Hills. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, any opposed? No? Okay. Motion carries. That is the board's direction, is to continue working towards an agreement between the two parties on an IGA to move forward in this agreement. And the part of that direction was we want to see numbers on with both things, so that we can flesh out the best path forward with ours. We're still gonna see another piece of our current water status with our district here in a little bit with John. Which means we'll be here until like midnight, so you're welcome to stay. But that's our direction. I know it hasn't changed much from previous direction.
No, it's okay.
I think you guys have made great progress in this. And I drive by constantly all the new line over off of Rex and Goodson, and I'm sure the people knocking down the power line over there last week delayed something out there. But
At least we didn't do it.
but that would be the board's direction, is let's continue working towards an agreement. I think you're aware of our sticking points, and by question and answer, you're aware of kind of our mentality of what we're looking to see going forward.
Really appreciate your time. Nice to meet all of you.
Thank you guys very much.
I just wanna say, we definitely appreciate all the work you
Yes.
guys have put into this prior to it getting to this point. Because we don't ever see that.
Thank you.
So thank you very much
Thank
for that.
you.
we didn't knock the power line.
You didn't knock
That day there was ice, somebody slid right through that stop sign and took that freaking pole out right at the intersection of Goodson and Burgess. It was blocking the whole intersection.
Nice.
And that house sits right underneath, that house on the corner that's for sale sits right underneath all those power lines.
Where was it?
There at Goodson and Burgess, last week when we had that big ice storm.
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody slid right through the intersection there, took out the power line pole. It was blocking that whole intersection. And that house on the corner there sits right underneath that power line.
Yeah.
So it was shut down for quite a while. All right, I hope that made sense what we just did, as far as direction goes.
It doesn't change anything on our side. I think he was just looking more for where does the board sit, and I think he got what he wanted.
Well, I think probably the key indicator that we're willing to move forward is we've already set aside the upfront payment. So it's already been allocated and set aside
Right.
to enter into that agreement. It's just a matter of semantics at this point, what works best for our folks in the district here.
Agreed.
Alright, cool.
I think it was useful for both of you to sit down across the table from each other, just express, what things are on your mind, and what sticking points they have, and kind of understand better where everybody's coming from. And I hope it helps everybody get to the finish line.
I think it will, but it creates a lot of work for Carter and I love it.
Don't forget item 8.
When he's there.
Alright, we'll move on here. I guess we'll back up here, to item 8, which was approval and disapproval of, January 25th, 2024 meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the amended minutes, because we got amended minutes
Yes.
today.
Yes, we did.
Okay,
I'll second.
Alright, motion by Stacy and a second by John to approve the amended January 25th, 2024 meeting minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. Motion carries.
And John, on the minutes, because I know Heather asked for approved minutes from me. The signature line that you added to those aren't on there from the previous one, so we need to go back
So,
and apply the signature block and then send it out to Kelsey for her to.
we can go ahead and revise that. I was reviewing it, and since the minutes are formally approved at the following board meeting, in each
Right.
case, we have a record of approval of the minutes. So yeah, we just need to add the signature lines, and I'll review what the best process is for that. Simply put, the minutes that were drafted last year, for some reason, the signature line fell off. We have it on the agenda, but we don't have it on the minutes. And it just randomly stopped at one point, and I didn't catch it. So, well, I'll go ahead and see what we need to do to correct that.
Alright, we just took care of item 9. Item 10, approval, disapproval of resolution regarding uniform parking rules and regulations.
Where did this come from?
Whose is this? And
Do you want to go or do you
Why
want
do
me
we
to
stop
go?
it?
Do you want to
Yeah,
go?
I
Me?
Yeah.
I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
So, there's a little bit of background on this, and this is, because there's, some finer points in this, it can definitely be pushed to the next meeting as well, because I don't think there's a time crunch by any stretch. Basically, at the moment, the district doesn't have, covenants in the normal sense, it does not control parking on the
That's
streets.
why I live where I live.
However, the district does maintain property. And right now, there are residents parking trailers, RVs on district land, just on the landscaping, in right-of-ways, things of that nature. And the district doesn't have any form of a policy to address that. My understanding, talking to Carter, is that in the past, the sheriff's informed if it's an issue, and the sheriff kind of goes through their process in getting vehicles moved. What this does, it actually creates a rule and reg for specifically district-owned property. We're not enforcing rules on anyone else's property. So if someone, kind of the two main examples here being, if someone parks their camper for a month in front of, just out here, you own the parking lot, they park for a month, you have an ability to tow after a certain amount of steps. Same with, was it just off of Stapleton? Was that where there were a couple trailers behind the fence line on homeowners property, behind the fence line of homeowners properties, but on district property, which may also be a right of way. People were kind of just parking RVs and trailers.
Which is behind the pump house and back by the pond on that road. We also have the issue in Horseshoe Park.
Yes.
So essentially, this would allow the district to have essentially a towing policy, for lack of a better term. Here's the areas you can park, here's the areas you can't, here's the steps that the district would be required to follow if it was going to move forward to a tow. And that's why I say this is something that can simply be discussed at this meeting and move to the next one, because it's my guess that the board would like to have some input on what that notification process might be. There are some towing regs that were passed last year. So there is a kind of a 24-hour, you have to post a specific notice of specific information, wait 24 hours, follow up on it. But as long as the district is kind of following those procedures, which are in this, they're essentially free to tow after a set period of time.
And again, it's specific to district owned, right? So when we get in a scenario, if someone won't move their equipment or whatever, right now, we as a district can do nothing other than call the sheriff and hope that they can get it resolved in the next 6 months, if that.
And
So,
a little more on that, we have
prior to me, this has been a carryover, I think, too.
Yeah.
Cause at here and RCE, that's why there is no overnight parking, sign on the lots, cause that's what the sheriff told us we needed for them to enforce any kind of, regulation. So that's why they're here, but we are getting areas that is adjacent to there's no way you can park there without driving through our property, but technically, it's not our property, so those are kind of some sticky points that we're looking at.
So really, this resolution just gives the district the authority in the event that we need to use it. At this point, we're not in that particular situation, but we have come across occasions where it would have been nice to have this if we needed it, but we didn't have it. So this just sets the district up to have the authority if it needs it.
As long as you can't tell me I can't park my fifth wheel in front of my house, I'm all right.
Nope, it's not a district-owned property.
Unless
Do
you're
whatever you
private
want.
property, do you have water rights?
Are you gonna park the trailer over the shut
Curb
off
stop?
valve?
Yeah,
I
can't
was
do
just
that.
gonna go with the shut off valve,
That way they can't get to it.
right,
Had that happen once.
yeah,
Alright,
down the street from where I live,
Yeah.
I'll never forget. That was a lot of water.
So just so kind of, right now, the notice requirements are basically laid out in the same way that's required by statute, no more, no less. If the board felt that, simply placing a single notice in the vehicle wasn't sufficient, maybe there should be some research, because my guess, at least in some of these scenarios, the person's parking adjacent to their property. If the board wanted a notice to the property itself, just informing if that's the owner to move it, we can add that type of language. However the board wishes to proceed, we can adopt, we can not adopt, we can move to next month, we can add modifications.
I read through it, I was good with it.
I was also good with it, it's no more, it's no less, this is the rule, that's it.
and I'm good with it, as long as it follows statute, so. Cause we don't have enforcement authority on private property or anything like that, only on the district.
The only thing I was gonna talk to Carter about, because I didn't have, if some of your infrastructure has actual like other parking lots other than the community and rec centers, I would add those addresses to the list of kind of district-owned maintained areas, just that's in the document. So if you wouldn't mind, if you were gonna approve subject to final legal revision, and I'll clear that up with Carter before it's officially signed.
Make a motion, we approve with final legal revision.
I'll second.
Alright, a motion by John, second by Stacy. No other discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Approval?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Alright, item 11. Approval, disapproval, resolution signing authorized users for online banking for purposes of positive pay.
So positive pay is a new feature to State Bank. It's not a new feature in banking, as Stacy knows. But essentially, in order for us to be able to have this new benefit with our state bank accounts, they need either board minutes approving this, or what John and I discussed is just doing a resolution. It's so much cleaner than just providing minutes. So essentially what this resolution calls out is who are the authorized users of positive pay. So it's myself, my staff accountant, Kimberly, and our treasurer, Stacy Popovich. So we're not being added as signers to the accounts. We are being added as authorized users for positive pay only. So that's what this resolution covers.
And what this positive pay, say again what positive pay does?
So positive pay is another kind of fraud protection on our bank accounts, which obviously we have been lucky, knock on wood, where we only had that one incident, what was it, 2.5 years ago with ACH. So
You
we've
been here that
been,
long?
it wasn't me.
Yeah, it was before him.
Yes. So we've been really lucky to not have fraud, but as Troy can probably attest, like cybercrime and cyber fraud, especially on the banking side, is ever increasing. So positive pay gives you more control over those types of things, and it gives you better access to potential crime to prevent it from happening. So in
Let me
in
rephrase.
all,
Is it a payment function or is it a fraud?
it's a fraud
deterrent
protection.
function? Okay,
Fraud protection.
all right. Because all of the payments from the district, other than what's in the bylaws, have to be signed by the president or vice president, or approved by one of them.
And that's a good clarification. Last year, you might recall there was a banking resolution that only listed the district's board members as the authorized signers for checks on behalf of the district. This does not alter that. This just grants the 3 people listed, including you, Stacy, as authorized to handle the positive pay specifics, whatever they mean.
I just want to make sure it was clear definition. It's not a payment function, it's a fraud protection
It's
function.
fraud protection only, doesn't change signers to any of the accounts.
Okay.
Wait on you.
I'll make a motion to approve the concerning positive pay resolution.
Second.
All right, motion by Stacy and second by John. Any other discussion on it? All in favor?
Okay.
All right.
Aye. Motion carries. And you're gonna send these,
Yeah, we'll send for e-signature.
item 12, attorney's report.
So not a ton to add on this one. I was gonna see if there's any questions I could field. Stacy, you had asked specifically about term limits.
Yeah.
3-year term is a full term, unfortunately. We did reach out, so I believe it was 1994 is when the Colorado Constitution changed to impose term limits on elected officials, most elected officials. The district was formed in 1995. Generally, when we form a district now, one of the questions at the first election is whether they want the developer usually at that point wants to waive term limits. And generally speaking, it's universal, not term limits are waived. So we've reached out to Wayne to ask for the copies of the prior election questions just to see if term limits might have been waived. It's my understanding that everyone seems to understand that there are term limits for this board, but we're at least going to spot check that so we can answer that question for you.
Thank you.
So we've begun the drafting of the amended restated service plan, and once we have kind of a working draft, that'll be in front of you for review to field questions, because there's going to be a couple. I'm trying to think of other kind of major topics over this last month.
No?
I think those are probably the big 2. Are there any other questions I can field on kind of what's going on right now?
Nothing new with Cherokee.
That wouldn't be under the general counsel anyways.
Oh.
Brownstein is handling Cherokee and Paintbrush.
Nothing new from Paintbrush?
No, they've been extremely quiet.
Really quiet.
Brownstein, we're just waiting for a response from Cherokee on our claim, as well as a copy of their counterclaims.
Grandview, we're on
Yep.
target.
Yep.
Falcon Fields, have we heard
I mean,
anything?
you guys
from
might
them?
know.
The only thing we talked about is, we didn't meet with them, but we met among ourselves about writing the core letter.
Oh, yeah.
And then, so that's the only thing that's really come
Do you
up
want to
on
save that for other business?
Yeah, we
'Cause
can.
it's not really related to.
Circle K,
The inclusion has been completed, and that was our extent of it.
okay.
We can do that in other business as well.
Should I keep going?
I'm sure it's gonna be other business.
Okay, I'll wait till we get there.
Next.
Next will be water and wastewater, state of the district review by district engineers.
Okay,
I
it's
need,
late.
hang on, I need like a 2-minute break.
Okay, I get that.
I'm gonna join you. Well, not join
Well.
you,
I'm gonna skip through a lot of stuff because there's 19 slides. I gave them all to you, you can have it. I'm sure Carter will probably share the whole PowerPoint with you as well, but I wanna make sure you had this so you can go and look at some of this stuff later. I'm gonna skip through a bunch of things, but you stop me if you want. A lot of it is kind of, some of you have heard before and some of you haven't. So, obviously, we have water in the Denver Basin, locally. We have our current supplies locally, and we have our, these are all of our non-renewable sources. And now we've added the Younger water, which of course is a non-renewable source as well. And like I said, I'm gonna really kind of go fast to, for your own time. We were talking about legal supply and physical supply. You've often heard legal supply as paper water, physical supply is wet water, and I kind of covered that again when I was looking at that chart. So I'm gonna kind of skip through this just a little bit. Here's some numbers, so take a good look at these things. So these are your 100 and 300 year numbers for your local supplies in the non-tributary water in the Falcon area. So that's right within this area. This is our off-site Denver Basin water that's in the Guthrie and Hartwell fields that of course you know is way out. And now we've added the Younger water as the third source. So we have a straw east, we have our local straw here, and we're trying to develop this straw to the north. Renewable supplies, probably pretty well know this. We have the Guthrie water that's 89 acre feet that's renewable, and we have the 350 acre foot Cherokee contract. So right now, that number that you saw in the yellow line was 1087. These numbers jumped way up with the Younger water, and like I said, I put it in 23. I don't think there's too many questions left about this. One thing I will tell you is this number is 830 here. The last time we made this presentation, right here, that number was 803. So we haven't come up a whole lot, pretty small. And I think you guys kind of got the gist of that chart, and I think the gist of this chart. All right, so where are we taking our water right now? So, non-renewable local, so that's what we pump out of the ground here in Falcon. The dark blue is Guthrie renewable. The tan, this is Cherokee. And so these two pieces together are renewable water, and this of course is the Guthrie non-renewable water, and what we take locally. So you can see we're split roughly 50-50 of what we pump today. And that number went down, the local non-renewable water went down by about 2% between now and the last time we did this. I made a bunch of notes because I updated some of these charts as how much they changed, so I wanted to report that to you. So this number went down by about 2% and was made up by other things. So starting at a little less non-renewable water. All right, I'm gonna hit these real quick. We have 11 active wells in the area, 5 Arapahoe, 5 LFH, and 1 Dawson Denver, which I don't think we use to a great extent. The Arapahoe formation in this area is on a declination rate that's greater than 100 years. Okay, and we'll have some charts and take a look at that. I think that's an important fact to reiterate. The LFH is only moderate decline, but it's declining as well, and it's out at the 100-year rate. So that's where we are on that declination curve right now. And we even have a graph of that, and I'll show you later. And that graph we've left from the original because it actually projects way out, 100 years. We do not foresee extending local supplies by the additional wells in this area. The only reason we would drill an additional well in this area would probably relate to an ASR project, which I'm going to spend a little bit more time on when we get in here later. So we're continuing to reduce our reliance on the Arapahoe in the area, and I'm sure that's exactly what you're seeing. So, oops, what do I push? I pushed the wrong number, and then we could be here all night. So, back to the Arapahoe. This is run out to year 2100. And the way that these decline is they decline on a decreasing rate. And the only reason is you can pull so much out. So I mean, you get down in here somewhere anyway, and you're gonna be, that it's not cost effective to pump this well anymore, somewhere in this arrangement. And that's one of the reasons why, you know, it never really goes to zero, but you get down to this point that it's just not worth pumping that well. And this is the Arapahoe, and you can see how dramatic, this goes back all the way to 2010. And kind of what that trend is looking like. Okay, next one's the LFH. It's a little bit better. The 25% yield is out at 21, 29, but you can even see that, you know, we're in that deeper stage right here. And as we get out, we could hit 50% between the year 2050 and 2100. So LFH is a little better, but it's still declining.
And this is gonna go out to the community. Can you just briefly touch, I know Stacy wasn't here for the last presentation, I don't think, were you?
Yeah, I was brand new, so anything you said,
But
I had
as-
no idea what was
As
happening.
far as when we talk about the Denver, the LFH, the depth of those aquifers.
Okay, real quickly, the LFH is down about the bottom of the LFH in this area is 2,400 feet, roughly. The Arapahoes vary a little bit in the 1,800 foot plus range, and I'm talking the bottoms, and of course, their thickness, their producing is above that bottom. And then the Denvers are actually around 1,200, but in this area, the Denvers are not cost effective to produce. I mean, we have a few holes in the ground, but we don't really use them. So that's, you know, this is a well that's half a mile deep.
And I only want that out there because we'll start talking about Grandview and stuff, and we'll start talking about shale water and how hard it is to get that water out of the ground and things with those different ranches and stuff out east.
Absolutely.
Then I make a point, that all of our wells in this district, we're at the bottom. They're placing the pumping at the bottom right now.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the reason you had to lower things is back in the late 1990s and early 2000s, people who were doing your wells back then thought, it'll be 50 years before we need to drop this well because there are 100 years out there, right? So we'll just go ahead and put the well here, and then we'll need to replace the pump anyway by the time that came full circle, you know? And so we've been dropping wells down for the last 10 years, I think. We've been done with some of, we've been dropping those things down. And we're all of them are down, so. So anyway, you're not gonna have to drop them anymore, but they're gonna continue to decline anyway, okay? All right, return flows. This is kind of important stuff, and I'm still gonna be pretty quick with it. So you own your Denver Basin water completely. Not only the water here, the Denver Basin water that's in Guthrie, and the Denver Basin that's in Younger, all right? So whatever we use, and in terms of this district, whatever we put through from that source, and then we send to our wastewater plant, is still our water coming out of the wastewater plant. Now, 50 years ago, that was a terrible thing to have it, but now that water's as good as water, you know, clean water. And it's important to know that we can sit there and use that water over and over and over until it's gone. And so consequently, if we have 1,000 acre feet of water that we're pumping from the Denver Basin, exclusive of the the renewable stuff, into our system, roughly 50-60% of that goes to the household. All right, so 50-60% of that 1,000 acre feet that we might pump out goes to the wastewater plant. So 500-600 acre feet is in that wastewater plant that is still our water that we can use. Now, of that, you know, there's another, I'm gonna get into the ASR portion of this, but we can put that back in the ground, pump it out. Of that, you're gonna get that ratio turnover. So when we say use it to extinction or use it to fully consumable, you keep running that play until all the water's gone, or it's so infinitesimal that you don't count it. So with the Younger water, your potential for the acre feet that you could pull out of there increases exponentially. And so consequently, the amount of water that you picked up from Younger is not much less than all of the Denver Basin water that you had. So your potential for reuse is almost, I increased these numbers to double, and it's probably more than that, but at least for safe talking right now, you literally doubled the return flows that you have off the Younger water. And that's also the reason that Fawa might want to put a little bit of water here, because 100% of their water is Denver Basin. Water replacement plan. This is kind of, I left this in here to just remind you guys of this. It's not an active thing. Well, it's an active thing because we got to account for it. But the water that we put on lawns that is ours, we get credit for. It's not a large credit, but we call it LERF credits or lawn irrigation return flows. We don't use it in the potable system, and we probably wouldn't be able to use it in ASR, but we do use it to offset certain depletions that are elsewhere in the system that we might otherwise have to use potable water offset. So it's important to note that you have that element here, and that we count that water, and then we count it against certain evaporative losses that are associated with the underdrains to offset that. But if we can continue to fix the underdrain issues and put more back in like we did down in the Falcon Vista area, well, we might get, increase this to where it's starting to be a credit, and we could potentially use it back against our supply. I know I'm skipping over this, so guys, stop me if you want to talk about some subject more. So, all right. There's only, we're not really tapped into all of the Guthrie water, so you're not using the Guthrie water physically to the extent that you could. So if you had to develop more water right now, that's the place that we would take it, exclusive of Younger, okay? Obviously, the 350, there's no ability to expand that. That is what it is. It's what it'll always be, that and no more. Guthrie alluvial is treated like the Cherokee water. So although this is renewable water, this is not, the 89 acre feet of alluvial is not fully consumable. And then of course, Younger water dramatic expansion, but will require substantial expenditures. We all know that. Just had that talk, all right? All right, this is where we're going to be coming right up to, over the next few years, that you're gonna see the Cherokee contract stay right where it is. You're going to see this piece right here is going to expand over the next few years, as we talked about, and you're going to see this contract a bit more, okay? And I'm going really fast, but I know I got a lot of slides, guys. So. And afterwards, you go take this back and kind of regurgitate some of this stuff, and you guys have questions, we shoot them out. We'll gladly discuss them. And I imagine we're going to be back here anyway, having more discussions about the fall, I think. All right. The local Falcon sources are going, certain portions of it could be, the Arapahoe could be lost or down to non-cost effective in 20 to 40 years. In the water world, I know it seems like a long time, but it's not a really long time. LFH water is going to be out there, in that 100-year range. But again, even that is going to be down to a fraction of what you see today. Obviously, the Guthrie makes up for that. And then this next one is kind of important. So we anticipate that if you build out what we have in the district today, and that includes Falcon Fields, that includes some of the little inclusions we've done. There's infill projects, you know, like Circle K and things like that are going to continue to come in. But even with that and kind of conservatively considering, we're going to physically need to put out about 1,276 acre feet at, assuming we don't add anything more, okay? Because so I wanted to give you kind of a baseline of where we are. We're going to need about 1,276 acre feet. So you're a little bit short on your physical supply, which means if we don't input younger or do some other things, we're probably going to drill a couple more Guthrie well sites over the next several years, okay? Which I don't think has changed either. I put in order to do some evaluations, that you do end up doing some sort of an annexation or inclusion. And so as we start thinking about younger water, I plugged it in that you might want younger water as early as 2028. But keep in mind, that's going to depend on you probably taking in some new big thing. You know, we talked about some of those, and we can get into more details if you want to talk about those when we get to the end. But if you did make that move in 2024, 2025, to annex a pretty big chunk of land, we'd be looking at about 2028 that we'd want to get the first couple of 100 acre feet out of younger. And that's 4 years away, but in the water timing world, that's not very long at all. It seems like a lot when short term is 4 years, but you need to think about ahead of you. Where additional, and this is kind of left over, a lot of this is going to be not as applicable to you as it was 3 months ago. Where other places to get, we will continue to look for alluvial rights inside of the Black Squirrel, but we have turned over about every rock, and there aren't any rocks left out there. There's a couple of birds in the bush that aren't available at this time, but they are really squirrely potential purchases. Over the next years, we're not going to take our eyes off that, but that's very unlikely that that might happen. The El Paso County Loop, it's up there, but how real is it? Every time I turn around, they put another zero on the end of it. So it just keeps going down that road. And CSU obviously is taking a different tact in terms of providing regional service. So there's going to continue to be, discussions there that might come into play.
So let me comment on that. So JD and I actually attend these regional workshops, and I'm actually on a core team of 5 people across the regional water districts that we are tasked with coming up with a potential idea of creating a water authority, a regional water authority, where you can share in partnership agreements like infrastructure or water supply, whatever it may be. So that is in its infancy stages. I actually have my first meeting next Tuesday as that core team. But CSU's attitude, like you've put up here, has drastically changed over the last couple of years. They are more willing to see what other partners are out there and willing to negotiate. So again, infancy stages of what it can look like, but since I'm on this core team, I will have more information to be able to share to the board as these things come about.
Interestingly, in that regard, in this whole, kind of regionalization concept, think about where Woodman Hills has extensions. We have a pipeline that goes 10 miles to the east. We are going to be involved in a pipeline that's going to go 10 miles to the northwest. We have a pipeline that goes 2 miles to the south. For a district this size, you have by far the biggest tentacles, I'll call them that, for lack of a better word, any of the other districts around. Nobody has those kinds of tentacles out in the system. And that opens up opportunities for working with other entities in terms of whether you're serving them or they're serving you. But exchange of water, the fact that you have these pipelines that far out of your boundaries. All right, starting to get into this ASR thing. So I was kind of talking about the bad news is the Arapahoe is declining. There's a silver lining in that is that the Arapahoe is declining. And what that means is, as we pumped all this water out of the Arapahoe and as it evacuates, it means we're building a big storage vessel down there. So in other words, we talk about the Arapahoe declining, but that also creates the ability that we have a space now that we can put water into the ground. If that's full, you can't pump anything into something that's full. But something that's empty, we're starting to build this big basin that as long as we control the wells, kind of around where we're recharging, that we have a place to build a big reservoir, which is what ASR really is. And I'm going to get a little bit more into what that really looks like. Indirect reuse, we've looked at things of taking, reuse water and serving potential areas of green belts and so on and so forth. Right now, all the wastewater is, well, not all of it because it's a cyclical or a seasonal thing, generally goes physically to serve the Antler Creek Golf Course. But at a point that we start taking that water back, well, obviously Antler Creek's gonna have to go elsewhere because that's really your water, okay?
No, we're not buying a golf course.
No, I'm not.
And that golf course
It'll be really cheap.
it'll get cheaper, so hold. All right, go ahead. All right, financing expanded facilities and additional water rights. Obviously, we're in this situation right here that I probably don't have to get too much more in depth on because this is really what we're talking about right now is working with other people. We may have to spend this money right here, what would have been where we would be going if we weren't implementing the Younger and have, that trade account where you could use some of their McCune water. You may drag your feet on this, depending upon, assuming that we get a Younger deal done of some sort. So some of these things are very, kind of dependent upon how far and how fast we get with Younger water. Okay? All right. This line right here used to be good, but not great. The line is good, just plain good now, okay? And that's just because you have this huge backup supply now that you're able to literally double up on your Denver Basin water. So that's kind of an important thing for you to walk away with, that you've improved the position of this district substantially with your recent purchase. Again, kind of repetitive here. Again, one of the positives of the Woodman Hill system is the geometry, because our wastewater plant is right there. We have wells around our entire area, with possible exception of what we call well site 4, which is not drilled. And like I said, we wouldn't drill a well in the Falcon area unless it was a part of an ASR project. And that fourth well site, it's not the fourth, it just happens to be numbered 4 from a long time ago. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 isn't drilled, 5 and 6. 4 would be over at the Eastern Filter Plant 3 over on Eastonville Road. That would complete our circle around the district of withdrawal wells, which would assure us of us being able to re-access our water that we would put back in the middle of the district. So all of these wells around each have a cone of influence, and you need to have that big circle in order to recapture that water that we would re-inject closer to the middle of the district. So that's the only reason I kind of mentioned some of those factors here. is that you have the geometry to be able to do that it's laid out in that fashion. You're not in a long, skinny district or something that doesn't make that work. Go ahead. All right, and I kind of came to the end, and then I'm going to back around into a few things that we might want to talk a little bit more about based upon what we heard tonight. Obviously, legal activities, potentially this is going to be coming into play, which is the Bar-X delivery system or the FAWA system. The Groundwater Commission rules are changing in the terms of replacement and ASR, in so much as there's going to be enhanced scrutiny of the water quality that we're putting in. And I'm going to come back around and talk about a few things that I didn't want to make a slide out of, but I want to get into this a little bit more. It's kind of a wastewater game that we play. UBS rulemaking, this is something I kind of put up here because I think that you mentioned it earlier, that one of the problems that we have is that UBS is making duplicative water quality determinations that the state is already controlling, and UBS is trying to pass their own rules. It was something you mentioned earlier, which makes it a little harder, but not an obstacle that we can't clear. We do have a few water rights permitting administration things. One of the things is we pick up or make small inclusions, pick up certain areas. The water under those ultimately comes to us indeed, but we actually have to follow up with a water case to get it into our well field. And us and Wayne have a tendency to drag our feet about that because it costs him X amount of money and takes X amount of time to get those done. It's expensive, so we like to build a whole bunch of them together so we do them all at once. So we've got a few administrative items to follow through in some of those smaller annexations that you've done that don't appear on your inventory right now, but will increase your inventory by a little bit, not going to make a big difference in what you can and can't develop. So now I want to just pivot real quickly to talking a little bit, because one of the things that happened is Wally said they want you to talk on water, and he did say wastewater, and I had a whole wastewater thing that I just found out tonight. I wanted to talk about wastewater as well. But it's pretty easy to talk about, and it's pretty easy to talk about how it relates here. So right now, one of the things that came up tonight is where are we with the plant? Well, we're right in the time clock counting right now. Because as you remember, our agreement with Grandview had put a 12-month, put that 12-month delay on there. And it did allow for you to proceed even if you got issued a final permit for that plant. That permit still hasn't come out. Frankly, I thought that they might come out in 2024. Now I think it's going to be 2025. But that time clock is kind of running on that 12 months, so nothing gets done in that 12 months. And so, but that's going to come up pretty soon, within months, and we'll probably be back talking about starting up that process. That's going to be a 5-year process. Now, so nothing is new in the last year on wastewater side because we're just sitting on the clock right now. How does that play into water and why? So when we have to make that upgrade to that plant, we're going to institute a system that's going to take the water quality to such a high level that it's a hop, skip, and a jump for us to go to the quality that allows for the ASR to happen. So ASR is kind of sitting out there looking for the completion of that plant and literally builds off of that final product, because you literally, it's kind of like walking up to the door and you're 2 steps away from finishing it off. And so ASR ends up becoming a package and a project that's post that wastewater plant expansion. And the timing of that is going to be probably excellent. If we just assume that 2029, 2030 is the year that we bring that expanded plant online, you can see where you are going with some of the declination here, some of the rate of development as to when, you might want to see that start happening. And remember, that's water right now that's just going down the stream. And it'll start slowly. It'll start out as with what we call a demonstration project, and it'll be 20 acre feet a year. But you'll continue to build on that, because I mean, you're not gonna go build a project that puts 300 acre feet, in a system that you don't really need to deliver yet. So it'll start in a phased manner, and it'll probably look like that 20-30 year that you'll really be starting the implementation of potentially ASR in the district. And you guys kind of understand now how the geometry works, and where the plant is located at the top of that basin. The wells are going to be in a nicer hook, anticipating well site 4, that you just bring that water down, drop it in, and we're really set up. But the wastewater project is the thing that gets me 5 steps towards the door, that to finish the last 5 steps to do ASR really sets us up. So that kind of sets the tone for what the timing might be, that you could be doing ASR in 2031 or 2032. And of course, depending upon how younger plays into that, how rapidly, if you're starting to put some more water, a little bit of younger water into your system in the year 2028 or thereabouts, then you're going to be generating more water that can go into the ASR project. So I know I went over this really fast, guys, because it's pretty late tonight, and I wanted to kind of come back around to 2 things that I think are going to happen from here out, and you may even want to direct me accordingly. Obviously, one is to take a look at what some of those, the whole idea of us selling some more water back Classic is pretty new. That hasn't been on the table here, but just in the last several weeks and months. That'll come back out, it'll come to Carter, and that'll get disseminated before your next board meeting. So you'll be looking at this probably in a few weeks. The second part of this that I think that we need to take this discussion and where this goes is, where do we really think we potentially will go with respect of expanding this district? Because we kind of know, if we just stay in our boundaries right now, where that leads you. It's, that build out is, within, our time site, which is 2040 or less.
Have you guys already started projecting numbers for the ASR as far as water being put back in, coming out of that plant? So, and that's kind of
We started.
Okay, so.
And that was one of those first slides I had up
Are
there.
you counting Grandview in that?
Nope. I'm not, because you do not own Grandview's water via that agreement. Now, I say that, portions of it were crafted in a way that you will skim some water off the top of that, okay? The way the words were written, they were worked with purpose when they were put in there, that there are, although it's their water, assuming that Grandview builds their water system, they have the rights to it, and they might, participate, but the water off the top, is not yours. It's still theirs, except for some that we skim off the top. So there is a little bit that actually comes back to you, but not a great amount. But they may come back and say, hey, can we participate in your project more? Sure.
Well, I only ask that because part of the ASR process is they're gonna need a place to store that water that comes out that they
Yep.
own.
Well, and a way to capture it too.
Yes.
And we already have this nice big circle with one little hole over there by filter plant 4 or 3. But you have the geometry, you're gonna have the wastewater plant, and you're gonna have everything set up to do that. So,
Well, additionally, we have the 3 million gallon tank at West. We have the 1 million at Theriot, plus the additional 1 million we're gonna build at Theriot. So above ground storage, we'll have 5 million gallons.
Well, Doug's saying we gotta put another one out there.
Maybe not.
you don't have to.
We don't. They do. We don't.
They do, yes. But, and keep in mind though, that your above ground storage is very short term. I mean, you think 5 million gallons is a lot of water. No, when we talk about a lot of water in the acre feet that we're gonna talk about with ASR over time, even when we talk starting out with demonstration style projects and then working our way up to several hundred gallons a minute, the volumes that we're gonna be talking about are, inconceivable to do above ground storage. And that's why the hole in the Arapahoe is so important to us, to create that 200 acre foot basin that we could put, that much water in that we can manage seasonally. 200 acre feet of above ground storage would cover most of this district. But underground, we get to manage that whole thing. You just kind of look at that whole circle that's within that whole well complex. So we're talking about really large volumes of water that you're gonna be storing, over the winter to then pull out in the summer. And guys,
How much would 78 more homes putting into that plant give us on the back end?
78?
Whatever he quoted me. I think he
Oh,
said
7,800.
homes.
Well, let's just start with half. So the water that goes through 7,800 is 1/3 of that number. Let's call it 2,500. And the water that we might get in a wastewater plant is 50 to 60% of that. So, 1,500 acre feet potentially. Now, I will share a few other things with you. The reason they want to go to CSU is comparatively to the Meridian deal, it's incredibly cheap. So, because they end up paying more as you go rather than paying as much up front. And so that's the biggest reason they want to go as much as they can to CSU. But that will be limited to their western basin, because their eastern basin still is going to come back this way.
So how many homes on the eastern side you figured that you're gonna go to Meridian, if we can peel a deal off of that, go to us instead of them, if they can get out of the Meridian deal?
It probably would be as many as 5,000 homes. Yeah.
So 5,000 at 0.353 acre feet is 1,765 acre feet.
So half of that would be,
By
would come out of wastewater plant.
882 acre feet.
Yeah.
And then of that, you would be able to use 85%.
Somewhere around there, so.
So
But remember, you keep turning that around in a circle.
Yeah, it's a
750 perpetual
revolving door
acre
factory.
feet.
So what we use for a rule of thumb is if we put 100 acre feet out of wastewater plant, and that is fully consumable, that will generate over the turning it over and over and over, 175 acre feet, 1.75 factor. Because remember, then you get half of the half, then you get half of the half, and it keeps adding up. So that term fully consumable means exactly that. Use it to extinction. Have we had any serious discussions with anybody at this point, or? And I tried to give you kind of an idea of what, how much that 2,100 acre feet means to you, how much it gets you. On a surface, it's gonna serve 2,100, 2,200 SFEs. No, I take that back, yeah, 2,200 SFEs. And if you take some water away from that, it's gonna take that amount away from that total. And then, of course, you really need in the ballpark of 200 to 250 acre feet just in reserves to get, to cover your declination over the next 50 years as well. And those declination curves aren't gonna improve at all. So, they ain't gonna get any better.
No, cause I think we're starting to see more and more high density housing and more, I mean, such a basic concept. And I just don't think anybody gets it.
Well, there's one thing we did this year is we took Carter got us a bunch of information because we were wondering where that's going to take us. If that's products that people are really starting to generate, and that's what people are going to want. What happens to us? What happens to this curve if we're starting to develop more stuff that's like courtyards? And Ryan did a ton of work, so he should probably be telling you the story. But you know where the courtyards is? Right about here. And so they're using an awful lot less water per SFE. But then on the other side, you know, they're dumping SFEs on top of SFEs, literally. These houses look like 3-lane bowling alleys. And I'm sure you guys are seeing it because stuff's coming through here of, you know, guys starting to propose, you know, these high density things. But at some point, FAWA is going to go down that road heavily. And so we developed a sliding scale for water projections for the really high density stuff. And if this district gets serious and we start seeing a lot of that kind of stuff come in, we're probably going to come back to the board and look at policies that don't put as much of your water on the table for these types of high density things, but use up less of your water as you're committing water on a 300-year basis. We haven't done it now, but we're set up to do it until we get really serious, you know, developments that are going to happen with this really high density stuff. But we're seeing it here, we're seeing it all over the county. I think it's something that is going to be here, and it's going to be here to stay. That people, because of the cost of housing, cost of land, is going to push this stuff into this.
Well, it's really not saving anything. The apartments are about the same cost as a house.
Yeah, and of course, you know, the apartments, if we get serious apartments, we're gonna have to create some kind of a staged volume for you. So
I guess the flip side to that is I don't see anything in the county specs at the time that limits, like per square mile, how many apartment complexes they can have.
Yeah.
Which is something that I think they're definitely not even, they're just looking at, hey, we need more housing. They're not looking at the repercussions on the back end of it.
Well, in a lot of their long-term planning encourages higher density development. And the planners want this high density group development and open space out here and lots of people in, and I'm not saying I like it or don't, I'm an engineer, not a planner. But they like a lot of people in small space and in these open spaces around. So their long-term plans generally do encourage, you know, that kind of development.
I'll be okay with it in 30 years when I have to live in something like that.
When you're at the memory center?
I'm closer than you are.
That's where I'm gonna be.
I thought you were about the same place I was. I'm way closer than you are. You know, I'm closer to that being sponsored by Depends. You know.
We're all gonna get there, hopefully.
Well,
Lucky.
there's a lot more info in here, guys. And I think one of the big things that we want to take back out of this is take a look at that, meld this with some of the discussions that we're having here, and come back with some of the other challenges and questions that you know, as you look and you guys considering what your policy issues are as you move east, you know, how does that play into some of this stuff? And especially into the question right now that you're being faced with about potentially severing some of your water.
How many other ASR plants are going in the state?
You have Centennial, who's been doing it for quite a while. Thank God for Centennial, because they went out and made lots of mistakes that now we don't have to make. And so the Highlands Ranch area has been practicing ASR for almost 15 to 20 years, but they were the guys that went out and made several $1 million mistakes, but, and kind of wrote the book on it that hopefully, we get to learn from as we do that. That's the biggest one. The WISE project that you probably heard about is much more recent. The Aurora project that's moving water back into aquifer storage, and I'm thinking strictly about Denver Basin, because
Right.
putting water back in the Denver Basin is completely different than putting it back into alluvial storage. It's much shallower, and the Denver Basin is much more technical than not. So you have Centennial has been doing it for about 20 years. You have the WISE project that's gone in now and is ramping up in the ramping up phase. And of course, the WISE project is their major partner, the lead partner on it is Aurora, but Parker Water and Sand and some others are participants in that. So those are two of the biggest ones that are going on, and Castle Rock's getting closer and closer to doing it as well. So there's a few out there that are doing it in the Denver Basin. Like I said, I'm saying that exclusive of, people who are doing it in the alluvium, because that's technically and scientifically a different animal. But we can, in a few years, we can all thank Centennial for plowing the road for us.
Questions?
And if you go back and look at this and you think of something else, make a note of them, send an email to Carter, me, whoever, because I got a feeling that we're probably going to be back in here discussing some of these issues that are this related to the questions that you're having right now, to resolving
Right.
things with the follow-up. But it sounded really good that you guys are here face to face with them and exchanging your ideas one-on-one, so that you know where they think their sticking points are and they're hearing where your sticking points are.
Appreciate you guys.
Thanks for having us.
How'd your mile deep well go?
It's half a mile deep. It's
Well, I thought you were-
2,500.
I thought you were doing one that was a mile.
Oh, you're talking about the, that one's okay, it's actually over a mile, it's 8,700 feet. That one is a disposal well, okay? That's out in the northeastern part of the state. And we're into UIC permitting right now on that. It'll be a Class A injection well. But it's 8,700. I thought you were thinking the one we're drilling over in Sterling right now, I'm sorry. Because we're doing that actively, but I think you're talking about that one in Brush that we're doing, and that's a disposal, not an ASR, but disposing of really nasty water, and it goes way deep. 8,700 is what we're looking at.
That's great.
Yeah, that's a deep hole.
A little bit further, we'll see it coming out of China.
Dump our shit to them. Pardon my French.
It's brine that we're getting rid of.
Well, appreciate you guys. I'm sure we'll be talking a lot coming up here, so. As we try to navigate all this.
You heard a lot tonight, huh? Like I said, you hear two things and you have three questions, kind of how it works.
I don't have a million more questions come tomorrow.
Oh yeah, that's why I said, hey guys, when you digest some of this, I'm sure that your minds are gonna start working, and you're gonna think about more things that you need to hear about. And maybe some of those also are something that we have to crunch ahead of you too, to get you some answers that we may not have the answer off the top of our heads.
Thanks, Ryan. I know you're the brains of the operation.
So he's just,
So how long did he go over your work to bring you this presentation?
This is all him.
no, it's not. A lot of it's Ryan.
We know that.
I'm getting at the age where we need to turn it over to some smarter, younger people, so.
You did a great job turning it over to him tonight.
I did.
Yeah.
And he just kicked me under the table. Like, don't say that. That's stupid.
So he's half your age?
No.
No.
Not quite that, not
No.
quite half?
Cool.
44, 70.
Yeah. He's got a few more years on him.
Wow. All right. If no other questions, thank you guys. We're gonna press on.
Thanks, guys, for listening to a lot of words, but
Appreciate all the work.
hopefully they're helpful, as you go forward. So,
There will be lots of work to be had going forward. So.
yes, there will be.
All right, Marcus, item 14, Park and Rec report.
Go back to that style here.
Good night, guys.
Be here for a while.
Thanks,
Good
John.
night.
Appreciate it.
Style.
You guys have any questions on it?
No, I'm pretty good. I had some phone calls, last week I wanted to bring up about pool age. We used to do where these kids could go get, take the test or whatever, and then they can swim in the pool.
Yep.
And I had some people call me and say, hey, they require you to be 16, swim in the pool by yourself. And
No.
my first response was, why do we have lifeguards then?
12. 12 is the age that you have to be to swim in the pool by yourself.
Okay.
So, and that is down from, we evaluated before it was, I want to say it was 14, and then we
Right.
lowered it 2 years this year.
And I thought we did, but the phone call I got said that whoever was working over there said, no, they have to be 16 to swim in the pool by themselves.
No, now, in the weight rooms, they have to be 15, so
Right.
that is a common, they get that confused when they're asking questions about different membership issues. Sometimes they get the areas confused.
Because I was like, are we requiring driver's licenses
Nope.
now for them to swim by
No,
themselves?
in fact, I was a big advocate of lowering it down to 12, and I just look at my own kids
Yeah.
for that, and I was like, I got one kid heading to state right now that's 13. He's quite a damn good swimmer, so at 12, I'm pretty confident that the kids can make it in there.
Yeah.
And we still have the swim test, because even then, they'll have to dig, because it is 5 feet in one end.
Yeah.
So there are different levels, and we completely redid the website this week. We went over different things, and we added the red band under aquatics and RCE. So that's new as this week, so that should cut a lot of the questions
Okay.
down. So if you have a chance to look at the website on what we did, we added quite a bit of information on there and put it in multiple places to avoid any questions or mistakes.
Cool.
Yeah.
Do you guys have anything?
Stuff that's not on there, I just got, as we were sitting here, I got my third bid for the collapsed bridge. So I got one that was 10, and I got one that was 30, and this third one was 20, right in between. It's technically, that's usually what I like to see. And the nice thing about this third bid is they actually have a stormwater engineer on staff that looked over the project, so we know that it'll hold.
I don't want that liability.
We actually know that it'll do what it's supposed to do, so we'll sign off on that.
And we're good on the overhang, or the cover.
Yeah, we'll get that signed and send that over. I'm gonna do a preliminary walk again with Elliot just to make sure that.
Did that make sense?
Yeah.
Since what I
Yeah,
replied to?
I walked it with him twice.
Because I was like, well, on the freaking drawing, it shows that they're gonna have to take out this wall and this wall.
Yeah.
And it doesn't cover this walkway.
Yeah, so we got clarification on that. The other one was crazy. I thought we were actually coming lower with the other bid, but it came out.
I think the initial, I think the first draft of that new building had the overhang going from that doorway to the opening, and I think it came in from Hammers at 150 grand.
Correct.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, and that's roughly what
And
it
that's
is.
roughly what when I looked
Yeah,
at the
and
bids,
this one
I
has
was like,
power, and I don't think the last one, did it have power? Because we are putting lights on it.
I don't know if they have power or not.
And then preparing it in the future for, there's outlets, so we want to add cameras and stuff, or add different things. We'll have that ability in the future to expand out.
I like it.
Yeah,
I
great.
just- We couldn't afford it
Yeah, I
first
know.
time around, so.
Yeah,
Luckily, the
there's,
price didn't go up a whole lot,
no,
at least with them.
yeah. Well, and we thought it was high originally, and then when we got the second bid, we're like, nope, let's move forward with those guys.
Yeah, when you sent them, I was like, golly, man, you never see bids that far apart. We didn't even see water treatment facilities or any of that
I know.
stuff being that far apart.
Same exact, the one that walked both the vendors through, gave them the exact same information and came that far apart, so that's why we,
How far apart were they?
$100,000.
yeah.
$100,000 almost.
Yeah.
It's quite a bit.
Wow.
And one's detail was much greater than the other.
Yeah. I think it was Hammers was actually gave like a price, well, that's because we went back and forth.
Yeah, the breakdown was much better
On Hammers.
on the
Yeah.
Hammers bid than was the other one.
Great.
As helped with it, the finance guy wanted.
Have you guys not seen that?
justification.
I don't
We
think I've
didn't-
seen it.
We
I
didn't
haven't
share
No, it
the
was just-
secondary proposal, we only shared it with you.
Oh,
Yeah.
I
Because
can't
you're special.
I
The
didn't know
rest of
that.
us.
I'm sitting here having a conversation about something that they haven't seen.
We
Yeah.
shared
I'm aware of
the whole board has seen the Hammers one, because that's ultimately the one that we thought we were gonna
Okay.
go with. But we wanted to get obviously other bids just to compare, but we only shared that with you just to say, hey, we have done the due diligence, and the Hammers one is the one that we wanna go with.
Okay. That was the email I got.
Hmm.
Was here's the two, we wanted to go with the Hammers. Can you sign this? And I said, well, you can bring it to the meeting and we can discuss it with the board and then
Yeah.
I'll sign it.
So where is it?
What's that?
We didn't bring it.
We did bring it.
Because you didn't want us to see it.
You already signed it.
No, it hasn't been signed.
Oh.
We're waiting on his signature.
Thanks, Carter.
Did you
Two
say,
of us here, two
No.
of us here.
was the email in color?
Was it? Yes, it
Yes,
was in color.
Yeah.
I even enlarged it. I'll forward it.
Great job, Marcus.
Thank you.
Job delivered.
ACTS, HVAC system, they work today and they'll be finalizing it tomorrow. So knock on wood.
Something might work over there?
Yeah, and it's bad. I mean, they found disconnected, they found mislabeled, things that were supposed, so now they have to check every single contact point because it was just a mishmash of stuff that wasn't working.
Yeah, don't ask how much we spent previously. You don't wanna know.
See, that was before me. I haven't
we
even-
don't wanna know.
Yeah. This one's not
We
cheap
have a good
either,
idea.
but the end of 90-degree days in my office are coming to, and hot aerobics are coming to an end.
All right.
And then another thing, because at the March board meeting, I'll bring in Stephanie. We're sending her to Program Revenue School in Wheeling, West Virginia, part of NRPA. It's a 2-year program that she'll go through and learn how to create new revenues, what other areas in the countries are doing. The top, I went to it about 10 years ago, and it's a really good certification.
It's where? It's at West Virginia?
It is, yeah. So they fly into Pittsburgh and then go down to West Virginia. They used to have it
Very
in
familiar
Stanley.
with them, so.
Yeah. So it's it'll be really good, and hopefully she comes back with a ton of great ideas. I know I did when I went to it, so I'm hoping that she'll do the same thing. So, and then Craig is going on the Friday before him and Nevaeh, who works at the front desk, are going to a CPRA customer service. It's actually one of them speakers that's speaking at that. He's doing a layover in Denver for a day, and they're gonna go attend that to get some customer service training as well. So, getting some staff stuff going on as well.
You might have some people need to go to that.
You're finance report of the road route.
I think the ladies are lovely.
Unless you want a phone call back.
I only had to email them twice.
So, well, now that gentleman has my number directly, so we're good.
Sorry, Carter.
Any other? I'll keep it short.
I just figured you would be best to deal, you know, I don't know if it just comes with the territory, but the direct, I mean, I don't mind them contacting me.
Yeah, I don't, that's weird. I very few organizations, they just reach out like that without reaching out to
Did
me
your
first,
office
but
refer the guy that called me last night?
last night.
No, the first I even heard of this.
Yeah, a gentleman called me last night.
About what?
Lives at McLaughlin and Tompkins. Said he wanted to put a privacy fence up. Said he called somebody and they said, go ahead, but he wanted to call me. and make sure the district was okay with him building a privacy fence.
I got
between
an
his neighbor's house.
email asking about putting a privacy
Okay.
fence, and I said, listen, the district has no covenants, we have no enforcement.
Right.
However, if your property's in an HOA, you need to contact the HOA and make
Right.
sure that there's no restrictions.
Fine.
That's what I said.
And if you have any further questions, here's Troy's number.
I was like, what?
We do
And
get
if
a
he
lot.
doesn't answer, John Martin was reach that.
Okay.
We get a lot of fence questions at the recreation.
Well, he was
center.
like, I'm really, I wasn't expecting you to actually answer the phone.
Oh.
And I said, okay, well, what do you got?
Okay. Now that we're here.
What do you got?
Well, we did, and a part of updating our website, we did add our direct line on there. We did have our emails on there, but on the actual, you scroll to the bottom, our recreation center phone number is on there, so hopefully that.
I think
Maybe
it,
that's
all the
something.
numbers should be on the front page.
I was gonna say, so whose phone number is on the front
If
page?
you go to,
District office.
could you go there
You're
real
talking
quick?
about his page or the,
Either.
from,
Well, his page, you had to dig through like 14 different things to find his
Can you
phone
go to
number.
for the
our
Metro
website?
District, it's my office.
I can tell you in today's day and age, the way everything is now, upside down with tips and people not responding to people and stuff. When we actually respond or answer the phone for folks, they are like floored that they get to talk to a real freaking person.
That's our goal.
And then they get to, actually express what they need to express, and good or bad. And
Our SLA is 24 business hours. So from the time you contact us to the time that we get back to you is 24 business hours.
That's not always true. It's taking you a lot longer than 24 hours to get back.
well, I mean, because if you go around and do business around town and
You're
stuff, customer service is not customer service anymore.
Right.
I just get a text.
And that's
Are
one
you
thing,
coming to
we're
the
making
meeting
that a
next
problem. In
week?
fact, today we got 2 new phones.
What?
Craig's gonna have one and Stephanie are gonna have one with dedicated lines, so that, cause they're doing a lot more calling also.
One person.
Setting up leagues and whatnot, they were using their personal phones, but yeah, now they'll have dedicated phones too, so.
Do we want to add the Parks and Rec phone number to the homepage of the website?
Yes.
I mean, it's in his contact stuff, so if you go to Parks and Rec,
It
that
looks
tab,
exactly like his
it's
now.
got all of that information, so I don't,
And if you look at it, it looks just like,
Add the phone number to it so people don't have to go looking anywhere. They want to find it.
Do,
Easy.
just
easy enough,
done.
yeah, you'll see it,
redundant.
but yeah. Great.
It's not like we're trying to take work away from you or anything.
I'm
You're
trying
just
to
gonna
add
2 for everything you take away.
Yeah.
to it. We're doing our best.
2009, right?
Job
Yeah.
security for that
That's
one
right.
right there.
Talking about the main line?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Gotta earn my keep.
He needs it.
doing it right away. You like the new icons?
Okay, what's next?
Alright, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Sorry, Carter.
Hey, thanks for going out there and driving him around and
It was a pleasure.
sorting all that out. That was awesome.
These are good things, because everyone that comes in like that, they're good, because they're really engaged. When then we get that master plan so it ends in April, so in April I'll bring that to you guys for choosing a vendor. Those are the people that I want as part of the community members, those are the names I'm gonna give, so that they can be part of our master plan process.
All right, I guess you're representing water and wastewater,
Yes, sir.
since Wally's out screwing off somewhere.
Again.
I'll let you say that. He's out fishing with his buddy, so.
Again.
Again.
Did it take you fishing?
Who, me?
Yeah.
You don't want me in a fishing boat or on the shore or anywhere with a fishing pole. I'm not
Oh,
gonna
my
fish
eye.
with you, so.
Oh, my eye.
Yeah, you don't want to see me either. I don't have patience for that.
I had none at all.
I have no patience for that.
All right, then we will do 15 and 16 far away.
Okay, so I was gonna give a projected,
Just the highlights, please.
the highlights. So our Theorot plant is up and running.
No! No accepts!
Except the filter portion, which is we have a firmware issue that's been worked around now, and we're hoping to have that started up next week. So we're doing a dry run this week. We've been running the pump station now, 24 going forward into the future, starting on Monday. I was hoping to do it last Friday. But during the business hours prior up to the first startup of the week of February 5th, as was promised, that went as I wanted to do as planned. We've just found a little of these hiccup things. You just work through them until you got a running product that you're gonna be comfortable with. So that's where we're at with that. We already talked about the FABA agreement. We talked about water operations and our plant maintenance that we're still doing as a continuation. We had one round water call, and our friendly board member John was alerting me about it. And so
When you turn on the bathroom sink and it comes out brown, there's an issue.
wasn't caused by us as a water.
Blame it on Cherokee.
No, actually, that was a contractor that, we have a hydrant meter that was assigned. He was in the area and just pulled on it way too hard. And it caused a great velocity, and while whatever's in the piping, it will get stirred out until it settles back down.
And it was just John's house?
Unfortunately.
I was gonna say, out of all of the residents.
I don't know those calls. I don't know what's going on there until I get a call.
Well, I was very polite and said, how
I'm
many
sure.
brown water calls have you had today? Well, none yet. Well, you have one now.
I prefaced that, I had none until now.
Who went over to his house? Did somebody have to go over to his house?
No, we just went over there and we started
No,
flushing. We
we
have
avoided
Did he come to the door and yell, "What's next"?
Moving on. With the contractors working in the area for Mountain View Electric, there was an unfortunate hit of an unmarked 2-inch water main service that was in McLaughlin. We was able to isolate that main. Nobody else was out of service, thank goodness, but we had repaired, it's a main artery for our water going north to south. So we couldn't leave that off for a long period of time.
Why was it unmarked?
Because right now, we don't know where it went. There is no record of that tap off of that main. So we're gonna wait to see if it's an irrigation that was probably unmetered for some time, and it's been in use, and we're just gonna wait to see who cries foul.
So it's off
It is off.
until somebody says I ain't got no water.
Actually, it is disconnected off the main.
Good.
Until somebody cries and can't water the lawn.
So. It's just some unfortunate things you learn about your system.
The 18th hole at the golf course is all of a sudden brown.
We'll know what's wrong. I don't think that main goes all, that 2-inch copper line goes all the way up there. It's gotta be something real local in that area. Other than that, we have nothing else going on as far as the district is concerned, just the small things taking place in bent grass, and maybe a potential building of bent grass commercial east number 4. So we're just waiting to see what the plans of what that building may be or may not.
Is that the Dunkin' Donuts?
No, it's not. It's something different.
When's that supposed to be done?
2 years ago.
When King Soopers
I was
is
gonna
be
say
done?
when King Supers was supposed to open.
So it's in flow on that. There was just no other news on it or update on it yet. They're still going through the county process.
Any other issues with the water, with the car wash?
That is in works.
So we put the wastewater's new flow meter there, and Wally ran some tests, but he's running some additional verification tests to make sure that what the readings we're getting are accurate. Once that's all done, then he'll compile all the information, and then we'll be able to take that back to the engineers and say, hey, we're seeing this is the way it was designed, why is there such a discrepancy? Once we have that conversation, then we can go back to the car wash and say, here's what you're gonna do, essentially.
Right.
Well, we checked it against have we run the same numbers at the other car wash?
I don't know what verification steps he's taking, that it's way outside my scope of knowledge.
I don't think there could be a comparison,
That-
because the new car wash goes through so many cars.
Mm-hmm.
In essence, the new car wash, when JD and I were looking at their usage, if you think about the water commitment, right? We were at a commitment letter so that he wrote. They're going through the full annual allotment in 3 months.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's how much water they're using.
Wow.
And what's the other one using? Cause they're still, are they on the recycling system too?
There's,
So
Yes.
Supposedly, they got that fixed.
Yeah, Ned's been over there cleaning out his reclaim system and the filters and all that stuff. So-
their usage has dropped
Quite a bit.
dramatically.
Is everybody goes
JD and I looked at it, I mean, it's like almost nothing. But the Superstar is
It's
problematic.
Oh, it's busy.
I go over there.
Yeah.
So
So
I don't
everybody else.
like Superstar, go to Quick Quack, does way better job.
I have a monthly there. It's easy for me to
Yeah.
drive through there real quick.
So why?
I'm just saying, that kinda lazy at this point with cleaning my car.
To get in and out of the quick crack, the road.
It's a pain in the ass, but it does a
Yeah.
way better job.
We were talking about brown water and that came in for some reason.
Yeah.
No, they're using a lot of water over there, there's no doubt about that. But as far as impacting like velocities and flows, you have to have a lot of Superstars going off, or like 5 or 6 of them all at once to create a velocity where it becomes.
Well,
an
cause
issue.
we're also, that Circle K's gonna have car wash too, correct?
No,
No,
that
we just
other
wash it.
car wash is the other side of I don't know if it's technically a continuation of Falcon Marketplace, but you know where the roundabout is?
Mhm.
So where the MD roofing, that extension, so that's where this other convenience store, gas station, car wash would go. So there's some implications on lines and capacity and stuff that I know JD and Wally are working through.
And then if they do build that one, it'd be similar to the one at Safeway,
Okay.
Small.
small one.
Go ahead.
Wastewater.
Anything else for the water?
Wastewater.
Okay.
Great job.
Good job, JD.
Well, I don't know where to start on his report. I just looked at it yesterday.
Highlights,
So the highlights,
problems.
well, he's waiting on some seals for the screw press. And so he's hoping to get that very soon. There is no update on the extraterritorial wastewater service agreement for DR Horton or Grandview, because they have not been reviewed yet. And they're still negotiating those gravity lines on those lines of easements out there along Curtis Road.
Oh, yeah, that right away. So
Right away is the
that's gonna
problem.
be problematic for them, for Grandview. Because where the gravity line needs to go, it's currently, they were trying to put in the Rock Island right away. That's not gonna be possible. So Grandview's gotta figure out a way to move it out of that, and that's gonna be a heavy lift.
And then it's also reviewing the Grandview lift station design and plans for the gravity and force mains. That's part of that Rock Island trail problem that they're dealing with. It's down here, he did his 2023 vital solids report. It's been submitted to the state and EPA. He's still working with the county to contract the surveyor to shoot elevation on all the manholes along Eastonville for the widening project. I guess there was still planning to put a couple of roundabouts. That's gonna be some interesting areas. One of them down there on McLaughlin and Eastonville. That's gonna be a very interesting deal there. And as well as down here on Judge War and MRB. So that's gonna be the other second right away. They were thinking about doing one on Del Rio, right there where that, no, seriously.
Right in front of your house.
Right there where they got that, something Star, yeah, Star gas line.
Yeah.
And it didn't fly, so at least they let me
Thank
have it there.
goodness.
See, groundwater's not looking so bad.
And roundabouts, groundwater, geese, crap.
So,
Yeah, that project is gonna be a
That's a pain in the
I
nightmare.
think it's gonna be a
It's gonna
pain.
be a nightmare.
Which one?
The Eastonville.
Eastonville project. And so we had two operators, pardon?
They need roundabouts.
Slow people down.
Yeah,
I don't disagree with that. I'm just saying that project is a nightmare.
right.
I mean, realistically, they need a roundabout at Stapleton and Eastonville.
What are they gonna do when they widen that road and there's those big ditches, canals?
I think they're gonna be reshaping those.
They're gonna be under
culverts,
right?
covered culverts.
I think
I
they're
think
gonna
they
be.
might be covered, some
Yeah,
of it's
That'd be
covered,
awesome.
some of it's
So-
covered and some of it's gonna be a riprap.
No mowing.
Yeah.
We're just
I'll
gonna,
mow right on top of it, I don't care, just not anything.
no, we're gonna take away your mowers and give you those little brush
So,
things.
we own
Street
those.
sweep.
So are they gonna tell us we have to do it, or are they gonna do
I
it?
don't know, we're gonna see what happens to that. They didn't come to us about that.
Well, technically, the property owners own them, but we maintain them. Cause the property line goes up to about a 3-4 foot easement off the road. Those ditches are almost, they're getting taxed on those ditches, property tax.
Well, that's that way with every stormwater run in the
Well, it's
district.
like that on Fort Smith or
The people
entire.
in filing 11 behind me have that drainage run, and they're responsible for maintaining it when it's the county's stormwater drainage run that runs through their yard.
Sorry.
That's all right. I know it was touched by John when he was talking about the high density that they're pushing out here and all that. Well, that's what those two house bills are. That, I was just surprised that Wally put it in his report. I was on the same meeting with him, and this is what I figured, if you don't have the infrastructure to support high density homes without upgrading your infrastructure, I'm not gonna worry about it. Unless someone says, well, we'll put the money up to upgrade your infrastructure to accommodate it, and then it might be a problem,
These are part of that.
so.
That means I can build another house in my backyard, the
Well,
one house bill.
The ADU bills, yeah, there's one in the House and one in the Senate right now, affecting counties and municipalities depending on which one.
mhm.
Which one's the one that Freilich wrote?
I'm actually not sure. I know like one impacts HOAs, the other one doesn't.
Yeah, one does impact the HOA.
One excludes, one's municipality and one's county.
Right.
But it's gonna, I mean, it's not gonna impact many districts directly unless the district doesn't have covenants and relies on county design or something along those lines. Yeah, basically it's gonna just prevent future design requirements banning ADUs. It's kind of the proposed legislation for the moment. I'm not quite sure where it's at in the process though.
So one of them's been proposed, but not killed yet, so.
All good?
Other than that, any questions for wastewater report?
Thank
You
you.
just got it yesterday,
I don't
did you
think these are out
answer?
of committee yet.
Try.
I have some knowledge of what goes on over there.
Next.
Thanks.
Item 17, items unfinished from the previous meeting. You wanna go here, or you wanna do other business? Cause these next three items basically all run together.
You're the boss. What do you wanna do?
Alright, we'll just go to other business.
Okay.
Item 18, board follow-up on older items. And 19 is other business. Go. All of it.
Circle K, so this project, JD can attest that it has been terrible.
How long have we been working on this project?
Years.
I feel like my
years.
entire 2 terms we've been working on this.
2020,
4 years.
since
Yeah.
2020
I was gonna say 4 years.
is when we first started this.
Okay.
So We are still waiting for the county to accept or decline the last water commitment letter that has been sent in. If they accept it, then I'll be able to create the WAF invoice for them, and then they'll have all invoices in front of them in order to pay their tap fees plus WAFs. So that's kind of where we're at with that. But as soon as those things are done, they'll be ready to start their construction. So essentially, what their plan is, like if you could imagine Diamond Shamrock is here. They have all that open space, right, down 24. They'll be building the new one in that open space and keeping the current gas station open and operational during that. And then once the new one becomes operational, then they'll demo the old one. What goes there, we have no idea. There's no plans for that.
There's no building for that. I think the county's using it as an expansion for part of the expansion of the turn lane over the road.
There you go.
Now, what hold up this whole project is because they added the Gibbs property.
Right.
And we had to re-amend the IGA to include those properties. The county just had a problem with having a blank piece of land with no commitment to water. And that's what's the whole holdup. And so as we explained to the county attorney that we don't know what goes on that piece of property, so how can we allocate water to something that we don't know is gonna be put on there? So we, with respect with Ryan and me, we came up with a resolution of how many, as a standard practice, and we gave how we justify that practice of so much water to so many acres on commercial property, and this is what gives us a number. And so we put that number on that paper for that whole, as the property as a whole, and then whatever they don't use, whatever's left over is the amount that they would have to stay within of the building. So that's where we stand with that right now. As soon as the county says this is acceptable, then it's a done deal.
So you could see construction start this year.
Okay, Falcon Fields, nothing?
Falcon Fields or Falcon Highlands?
Okay, let's go with Falcon Fields first.
Falcon Fields, I don't
One
think we
has
have really
info,
any
the other
updates. The only thing is, we had told you guys previously, Proterra is a potential new buyer of Falcon Fields. There had been some back and forth communication about, updated rates that you guys we adopted in 24. That was the last I've heard from them, so I'm not sure if they're moving forward. However, Marcus and I just got an email from Respect about the Army Corps of Engineers. So as some of you may know, the Army Corps of Engineers had to get involved with the drainage issues in Falcon Fields. Well, I guess part of that, and we're still gathering information.
Falcon Fields or Falcon Highland?
Falcon Fields.
Falcon Fields.
So with Falcon Fields, they put in a request to us that we send over a letter essentially saying we own and maintain certain ponds that are upstream of them. So me and Marcus have asked that Ryan go back to that other engineering firm and find out exactly what the Army Corps Engineer is requesting and provide us that documentation. We want to see specific requests to WHMD of what they want.
Right.
Because we don't want this to become a nightmare for us when it's really a Falcon Fields problem. So we're kind of in the infancy stages of figuring that out. Once we have more information, we'll be able to give you guys an update.
I mean, realistically, the only one they would have a problem with is the one behind Safeway.
No. There's a bigger problem. So was it Benapon, right? Talk a little about that.
Yeah, from, what is it, the road, the culvert that runs from the golf course in between and Bennett, that section is ours, and there was some trenching done a couple of years ago in there to create a better flow in there.
Yes.
That's the only runoff that is Corps of Engineer designed. So by doing that, it was different than, it was supposed to be a sand sediment flow on there, and by digging that out, there's a straight shot that we'd rather fix on, get back to normal before we move forward.
Okay.
So there are plans to fix it, but we don't want the Army Corps of Engineers coming in now before we have the time to put those things into motion. So, we just don't want this to blow up on us. So that's Falcon Fields.
Just do what's right, it'll work itself out.
Right, exactly. Falcon Highlands, so we've talked about, like, you know, since Challenger is on the board now, and they've got desire to grow, and obviously there's
And approval from the county and.
there's a whole bunch of things going on, but they have agreed to a joint meeting, so it's supposed to be sometime in March between us, Falcon Highlands, which is CLA, and Challenger Homes, to talk about what that future partnership looks like and how all of those agreements kind of work out in terms of them having to upgrade the lift station and what other potential projects they may have in mind.
Correct.
So once that happens, then obviously we'll update the board on how that meeting goes. Ideally, I'll have it scheduled and done before the March meeting, so we can bring that to the board meeting in March. What else?
Nothing else?
CMD.
Cherokee, I already said, right?
No.
Did I say? We're just waiting
Yeah, just
on,
waiting on,
yeah, we're just waiting on a
sorry.
response.
And nothing from Paintbrush.
And nothing from Paintbrush. They're just,
So they're happy with her.
they're happy for now.
Okay.
We're still working out the financial plan related to the rate study. So there was additional conversations I had with Ralph Tellis, just trying to iron out some additional details. What has made this thing so confusing is that Paintbrush agreement. It really throws a wrench in how you do a traditional rate study and how you do cost of service and how do you extrapolate the data to go out future years. So it's just taken longer because it's so unique, and because of the previous litigation, we want to get it right. So that's why it's taken a little bit longer than expected.
Okay.
That's all I had.
Nothing else?
You ain't got nothing?
Nothing at all?
Wow.
Alright.
Way different than last meeting. This is what happens when starvation.
You just ate.
Yeah, I haven't eaten yet. I wanted to go home and get a sandwich. I'm freaking dying.
That's my first meal of the day.
All right, then, with nothing else, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Motion by John,
No second.
second by Stacy. All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.